A sweet flashback shows Ava and Mitch happy at their wedding. However, the present is quite harsher. The US military has accidentally detonated an experimental weapon on the eastern coast of Tasmania, which has destroyed the city of Hobart and killed 500 people by causing neural failure. The US government is now under pressure from the UN, the Australian Prime Minister, and protests in DC as they demand that the president be held accountable. News reporters want to travel to disaster zones, but they aren't allowed and haven't been told why. Mitch was on a business trip in Hobart when the incident happened and Ava desperately tried to call him, but he didn't answer. She's now on a flight to Australia as a volunteer for a military cleaning operation, hoping she may find Mitch in the process. The other people in the plane are volunteers too, and an elderly lady is also hoping to find her loved ones alive. At the airport, the volunteers are forced to leave their phones in a box, and they'll only get them back when they go home. At the registration desk, Ava says she wants to join the body retrieval unit in the south. However, the officer explains nobody is going south yet, because the city is still burning. So, for now, Ava will have to work in other areas and wait. When Ava starts crying, the officer offers her condolences and assigns her to Unit 209. Ava mentions she's a physical therapist and offers to help with other things while she waits. But the officer explains that A's exemption was granted for disaster victim identification, so she must work with that unit or go home. Then, a captain informs the volunteers that the rumors are true. Some of the dead people have been coming back to life as zombies. If any of the civilians encounter one, they must alert the soldiers to take care of it. Ava thinks about her life with Mitch and hopes he's fine. Afterward, Ava's unit gets on a bus and during the trip, a man asks how many dead people have come back. A soldier only tells him to use his flare if he finds one, not answering the question. When the bus reaches a ruined city, they can see smoke everywhere. The volunteers spread to find bodies so they can bury them with dignity. Ava and another woman enter an abandoned house and search every room until Ava finds dead bodies in the garden. They move them to the front yard so the soldiers can take pictures for identification before a truck picks them up. Ava's teammate is horrified by the sight and decides to quit, saying she must go home to her daughters. From another house, two men come out. One is throwing up while Clay is calmly smoking. The puking man also quits, and Clay shares a look with Ava, so they agree to team up. Clay breaks down the door of another home, and the duo finds a dead old man on a couch. There also are dead fish in a bowl. The smell in the house is awful, and Ava wonders why Clay doesn't wear a mask, but he just answers with a joke. The duo keeps going from house to house, gathering bodies and working together to move them when they're too big. In one of the homes, Ava sees a wedding picture that makes her think about her own wedding. When it's lunchtime, all the volunteers eat together and talk about the situation. A woman thinks the military should be capturing the zombies to study them instead of killing them. On the road, the elderly lady finds her son in a truck and cries as she asks him to wake up, but the body doesn't move. In a store, Ava finds a baby cradle and thinks about the last time she took a pregnancy test. It was negative like all the other times she tried, but Mitch comforted her and said it had happened eventually. At that moment, Ava hears some screaming and turns around to see a woman with a flare asking for help. The soldiers rush into the building and open fire to kill the zombie. In the next house, Ava and Clay find a very nice car in the garage. Ava notices some blood stains on the floor and follows them until she discovers a zombie hiding behind the furniture. She immediately alerts Clay, who opens the garage door and lights a flare. Ava can't stop staring at the zombie, who only stares back. She has to leave the building when the soldiers come in to shoot the zombie down. At the end of the day, priests offer prayers for the dead before the bodies are thrown into holes in the ground. Then trucks throw dirt to cover them up in a very impersonal burial. The cold sight bothers Ava, so she goes for a walk. When she sees the coast in the distance, she remembers her vacation with Mitch at the beach. At night, helicopters guard the town with her lights. In her room, Ava secretly checks a map and draws the fastest route to a resort in the south. Seeing how long the distance is, Ava curses, but still wants to proceed with her mission. She grabs her things and sneaks down the stairs, always making sure to avoid any people running around. Music and chanting can be heard in the mess hall, but Ava ignores it and enters the kitchen where she finds a door that takes her straight to the exit. However, when she's about to leave, an officer catches her red-handed and sends her back inside, saying they shouldn't have let Americans join them. Then, Ava goes to the mess hall where the survivors are having a party to distract themselves from the horrors of their job. Clay gives her a drink, and Ava opens up about her husband's situation. She also says that the zombie they saw earlier didn't look fully gone. In fact, she thinks it looked lost and scared. Clay doesn't believe it, causing Ava to feel uncomfortable and leave the party. Later, Ava and Clay search another house where a zombie suddenly comes out to attack them. At that moment, Ava wakes up in her room. She looks out the window and observes the smoke that still covers the city. Early in the morning, volunteers go out again and Clay and Ava find some bikes in a garage. Clay jumps on one and wonders if they'll let him keep it while Ava keeps searching. In the neighboring room, she finds dozens of bodies left by a party. There's alcohol and illegal substances on the table, so Clay consumes some happy powder and shares that he's been riding bikes since he was a kid. Ava shows him the map and wonders if he could take her to the south on the bike to avoid the worst areas. Clay teases her for her determination and agrees to drive her. While Clay goes looking for helmets, Ava hears a noise and turns around to find a zombie, which is clenching its teeth and making weird sounds. Ava tries to communicate with it, but Clay comes back and tells her to move away. Afterward, the duo leaves the building with the bike and sneaks out of town through an open gate. They run down the road, and once they're far enough, they get on the bike and ride away. Clay is so excited that he drives at full speed and dodges all the abandoned cars on the road. A few hours later, the duo sees some military vehicles approaching, so they rush to hide behind a car. At that moment, Ava sees a zombie in the middle of the road, but when it starts to walk, it gets shot down by the soldiers. Ava stares at the fallen body and can't help imagining it as Mitch. After the soldiers leave, the duo keeps traveling. The closer they get to zero ground, the more smoke and ash are in the sky, not to mention every place is in ruins. Eventually, they stop at a town for supplies, and they can't stop coughing because of the smoke. When they encounter more zombies, they rush back to the bike to leave. At the next town, they stop at a restaurant and ignore all the dead bodies to look around. In the kitchen, they drink water from the tap and wash up. Clay's muscles are sore after all the driving, so Ava gives him a massage. She shares that she's been a physiotherapist for 6 years and opened her own clinic recently. Mitch worked in renewable energy and came to Australia for a company meetup. Clay says he's a builder with a small business in Melbourne. Ava looks at his tattoo and wonders if he lost anyone, but he doesn't answer. Suddenly, a zombie appears behind them and starts destroying the furniture. Clay gets ready to hit it with a chair, but at that moment, the zombie is shot down by Soldier Riley. He explains that the longer zombies go on, the more agitated they become. The creature is still moving, so Riley stabs it to kill it for good. Afterward, Riley asks the duo why they're in a restricted area, so Ava tells him everything. Riley wants to interrogate them, and Clay will go first, so Riley locks Ava up in a room while she waits. After the men are gone, Ava cries and apologizes to her husband for failing him. She thinks about the day Mitch came home after work and asked her to talk. Hours later, Riley opens the door and tells Ava that Clay ran away by pretending he needed to pee. Riley tried searching for him to no avail. He says he understands the need for closure, so he offers to take her to the south, but she must promise not to try to escape. Ava does so, and Riley says they need to grab a few things before leaving. On their way out, Ava notices Riley's wedding ring. The duo leaves on Riley's truck, and by nighttime they make it to a B&B called Bluebird. Riley was stationed here and knows there's food inside. He offers to make dinner, and Ava points out that he said he only wanted to grab a few things, but Riley thinks they should take a break. During dinner, Riley talks about his father, who was an army man too. Ava refuses to eat and finds some pictures of Riley with a woman named Katie. He explains that it's his wife, who had been 8 months pregnant when the incident happened. Riley had been away on military business. So, as soon as he heard that this area wasn't radioactive, he got on one of the first helicopters that came here. Unfortunately, he found Katie and her family dead at the table. When Ava asks if Katie came back, Riley smokes instead of answering. Then, Ava wonders when they're leaving. Riley promises they can do it soon, but first, he asks Ava for a favor. In the bedroom, Ava changes into Katie's clothes and even uses her perfume, but she refuses to put on her wedding ring too. In a drawer, she finds some scissors and hides them under a pillow. When Ava's ready, Riley comes to the room wearing civilian clothes. He plays some music on his earbuds and gets his favor from her, which is dancing together. Riley gives Ava one of his earbuds and hugs her for the dance, allowing Ava to pretend she's with Mitch again. Riley calls her Katie, apologizing to her and saying he loves her. He falls to his knees to talk to the baby, reminding Ava of Mitch doing the same during their wedding. At that moment, Riley realizes that Ava isn't wearing Katie's wedding ring. Ava says he's already had his dance, but Riley claims that she ruined it and demands that she change rings to start again. When he starts approaching her, Ava panics and hits him with a lamp before running. Riley tries to follow her, so Ava locks herself up in another room. After blocking the door with furniture, Ava turns around and is horrified to find Katie's pregnant body on the bed. Riley believes that she'll wake up soon because he theorizes that the dead people who become zombies are the ones with unfinished business. He also claims that his son is alive because he felt him kick. While Riley furiously pounds on the door, Ava stares at all the pictures and candles in horror before noticing the window. She goes out and walks on the roof to then climb down a tree. She finds the truck nearby, but first she needs the keys which are inside. She opens the door and goes in at the same time that Riley appears on the stairs, so she has to run without taking anything. Ava hides in the garage, and soon Riley comes looking for her. When he searches the room with his flashlight, she notices a bunch of zombies chained up. On a board, there are notes about each zombie, which means Riley has been studying them. He doesn't dare to walk further into the garage. So, he keeps asking Ava to come out while apologizing and promising to take her south. Ava then takes off her ring and comes out acting as if she was Katie, using cute nicknames to talk to Riley and asking him to finish their dance. A very wary Riley walks backwards to guide her out of the garage, and Ava notices the keys hanging on his belt. She keeps talking sweetly to him, and he comes closer to hug her, but he calls her Ava and says she's already ruined it. Then Ava pulls out a screwdriver she found in the garage and stabs Riley in the neck to kill him. While Riley squirms on the ground, Ava takes the keys and runs to the truck. When she turns on the truck's lights, she's shocked to find Katie standing outside the house holding her belly. Ava ignores her and takes off. During the trip, she remembers the day Mitch left for his business trip. She had been crying, and he didn't want her to come to the airport. Their marriage appeared to be in shambles. In the morning, Ava wakes up in the truck and puts her ring on again. She spent the night there because the road is blocked by a bunch of vehicles. She grabs clothes and an axe from the stuff that fell from those cars and continues her journey on foot. A few hours later, a zombie appears behind Ava and comes after her. She tries to escape, but trips over a body and accidentally drops the axe. Then, she climbs inside a bus through a broken window, only for the zombie to follow her. The creature keeps trying to grab her legs, and Ava throws every object she can reach until she finally kills it by striking it several times with a fire extinguisher. After yelling in frustration, Ava retrieves her axe and keeps walking. In the evening, she finds an RV and peeks inside to find a whole dead family. She pulls the bodies out before settling in the RV to rest for the night. She takes care of the blisters on her feet and looks at the map, noticing she still has 6 miles left. In the middle of the night, one of the bodies becomes a zombie and Ava is awakened by the noise. She goes outside with her axe ready to attack, only to find the zombie digging a hole to bury its family. It almost looks human when it looks at Ava, so she decides to help it. Once the whole family is buried, Ava looks at the zombie's ID from his wallet and thinks about Mitch again, gaining hope that he may be okay. The zombie sits next to the hole as a request, so Ava kills it and buries it with its family, leaving a picture on top of the grave. Eventually, Ava makes it to a fancy resort where she discovers the bodies of all the guests and the staff, plus a zombie stuck in the garden. She searches every room until she finally finds Mitch, who is dead on the floor next to the bed. Ava gently grabs his hand, only to notice he's missing his wedding ring. When she looks up, she notices 2 wine glasses on the nightstand, a woman's ID on the table, and the ring in the bathroom. This means Mitch cheated on her. A crying Ava calls the woman pretty before yelling at Mitch, asking him to wake up for her. She's interrupted by Clay entering the room. The duo goes to the beach and drinks while Ava shares that her marriage started to go downhill when she failed to give Mitch a baby. She wanted to start a treatment, but Mitch told her to wait. Arguments became very common, and she didn't recognize her husband anymore. Eventually, she had an affair and confessed it to Mitch right before he came to Australia. She came thinking she could find at least a part of him to make things right. In return, Clay shares that his daughter and his wife don't want anything to do with him. So, he volunteered for the project to prove he's selfless. However, when he told his wife, she only insulted him. Afterward, the duo decides to forget about their problems by having fun in the resort. They drink, smoke, and swim in the pool. When a zombie runs near them, Ava kills it by repeatedly striking it on the head with a bottle. The next morning, Ava sees a picture of a Viking funeral and gets an idea. She takes off her wedding ring before grabbing Mitch's body, which she moves to the beach with Clay's help. He ends up throwing up on Mitch because of his hangover. After wrapping the body in sheets, they put it on a boat and set it on fire before sending it out to the ocean. Later, the duo leaves in a car. When they drive near the Blue Bird, they find Katie in the middle of the road with blood on her dress and a smaller belly. Once Ava realizes she gave birth, Katie walks away. At that moment, they hear someone crying and Ava runs to find a baby in the ruins of a house. Clay covers him with his jacket and Ava rocks him to calm him down. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.